Hello, world. How you guys doing? This is Daniel Rucker on True Table. I know it's been a couple of weeks in light of what's going on in the world currently with COVID-19 and all of the changes and the adjustments. I felt that it was just necessary to take a week off and really just let things simmer. I know most people are glued to their TVs or their cell phones or however you get your content, your news and media. Like I said, in light of what's going on. So my prayers, my support, and my love go out to all the families and those people who are making tremendous adjustments to loss of jobs or the unknown right now. We're all in this together. I think that collectively, this is not just a independent regional issue. This is a worldwide issue. It is definitely a epidemic, pandemic of sorts. And so it's causing people to now have to dig deeper and have faith that things will get better. So that's my heart going out to you guys, that I hope things do turn around sooner than later so we can get back to just progressing as a people, as a race. But in this time frame, definitely stay safe, stay vigilant, stay faithful, positive. Nothing's going to come out of panicking or overreacting. So that's my commercial break, my diplomatic side of sorts. Before I get into the topic of today, but I wanted to just let everyone know that definitely have love for you guys and hope that things get better. Now, to dive into things, let's get started. Let's get rolling. I wanted to talk about a topic today that pretty much everyone has to deal with in one way, shape, or form, and that's communication. Communication is one of the things that I feel everyone, and I mean everyone, has to work on, myself included. Communication is something that is a practiced, trait. It is not something that people can become, in my opinion, a professional with. You can become more versed, you can become more experienced, but it is something that you're always going to have to tweak. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now, why communication, Daniel? Why is this a topic you felt need to be discussed? Well, I'm glad you asked that, by the way. I'm a fairly communicative person. I enjoy conversation. I enjoy getting to know people. I enjoy conversing. And one thing I have found is that through connecting, through being social, a lot of times communication seems to always be that one thing that sometimes breaks down. It falls apart in a lot of ways. It could be perspective. It could be people's temperament. It could be expectation. It's so many variables of why communication seems to be something that is a bit rigid at times. And maybe rigid is not the right word. I would say lacking a flow. It's not as fluid. There's a lot of times I feel that with communication, people perceive that what they're saying is being received a certain way, and what they're intending to say, they know in their heart and in their mind what they're meaning. They know in their heart and their mind what they're trying to convey. That doesn't always translate correctly through their mouth, and sometimes even in some forms when it comes to text messaging, which, if anyone has had this experience, I almost hate communicating serious topics through text message because it seems to always fall apart. Again, going back to perspective, temperament, how a person filters information. There's so many variables. So what I wanted to talk about today was communication, and hopefully to just give some points and things that you may be wanted to add to your arsenal to become more effective in your communication. I was watching the other night a Netflix special. I forget the gentleman's name. His last name is Chang. I know he's an Asian guy. But one of the things he was saying was that his wife has an issue with his tone. And I thought it was hilarious because it just, it was comedic relief and all that. But he was saying that, my wife, we don't have issues, but we have this particular issue, she said I have a tone issue. And so, in reference to my topic today, I feel that that is a relevant component. So let's talk about that. Your tone. Sometimes with what you're trying to convey to someone, the type of tone that you use, your inflection in your voice can throw things off. Someone may interpret what you're saying incorrectly by just the tone you use. I know I've been guilty of being told that I'm very monotone when it comes to my delivery in reference to things that individuals think I should be overzealous about. So, for example, if I get good news, it could be life-changing for me. It could be a raise. It could be, a deal, a sale. It could be numerous things. Then someone will ask, well, Daniel, how do you feel about that? You got that promotion you were looking for. How's it feel? And I'll be like, it's cool. It's good. I'm blessed. And I keep it very even keel. That's my temperament. I'm not yay or oh my God. I'm not that type of person. I don't go over the top when it comes to celebrating things of sorts, at least with my tone and my demeanor. So that's just my temperament. And so in communication, sometimes, a person could be trying to convey something and they may use improper tone. They may use a tone that for them is suited based on their temperament. It is an independent, connected component to how they feel, they think, they see things, they perceive things. And sometimes in learning, as my dad would say, learning your audience, you have to exercise things in your mind the way it's potentially going to be received. There's no perfect way of knowing until you let it come out. But you can perceive, and this was where experience and things like that come into play, that if you communicate effectively enough, you should start to learn how most people will potentially perceive this. Most children will perceive this. Most males, most females, most coworkers, whatever the capacity that you're communicating in. So tone is one thing that I would definitely exercise, that you learn to grow in, master, become well versed in your tone. Inflection, volume, an easier word. Sometimes communicating in a very loud or very mild tone, lower volume tone, depending on what is called for, can make things either effective or not effective. So I know that in my own experience, there's been times where I have a loud voice. I have a voice that echoes, it carries. And a lot of times, especially when I'm passionate, my voice can raise without me even realizing it. And I could be excited. I do my best not to communicate overly aggressively when I'm upset. I could be upset and still talking just like I'm talking now. But, volume sometimes can change the feelings, change the mood of the conversation. So it is imperative that people realize what type of volume they're utilizing. I mean, I think everyone, commonly knows what the library is, and the library is known for having a standard of you being quiet. Like, you don't talk in a library. If you do talk, you are supposed to use your inside voice and, not communicate in a way that disturbs others. So some of those practices can be combined in your arsenal of learning to communicate. Vernacular. Sometimes words, well, in most cases, the words you choose to use can set the foundation for the type of conversation you could have, or they could either progress the conversation or derail the conversation. So things like curse words, for example, which a lot of people like to use. I feel it is, again, imperative to realize how powerful your words are, how powerful communication is, and then what are you potentially trying to convey when you're saying what you're saying? And the way you're communicating, is this the best way to communicate? Is it the most effective way to communicate? Is it the most fruitful way to communicate? Words are very powerful. Words are like deposits. They are things that are tied to more than just the word itself. Words can have a lot of elements to them, meaning, backstory, history, trauma. So sometimes in communication, you have to be very aware of what you are conveying or trying to convey. And I've always been one to where I prefer to communicate professionally in most cases. I perceive the world in a way that when you're talking about almost anything, if you keep a very professional delivery, it's hard to dismantle it or even not receive it. Because the whole point of my communication in most cases, I'm trying to edify. I'm trying to give away things that are going to be progressive or fruitful. I don't feel communicating, at least from my own personal perspective, should be harmful. So even this channel, for example, is geared towards helping, geared towards giving out information that is going to be the best benefit for those who decide to take it, digest it, apply it. So I feel that as individuals, we need to, practice that you as a person need to be mindful of the way that you talk. And then the way that you talk often sometimes identifies how you think, identifies where you're from, identifies how people perceive you. Now, some would say, well, Daniel, who cares what people think? Well, let's be honest. Everyone cares what people thinks. You may care less. You may care less than some other individuals, but most people do care about the perspective. Most people do care about the outlook, the identity, the reputation, whatever you want to call it, of the collective. Your social circle, your family, your coworkers, and all of those things associated. So communication is important. Communication, even now, as everything is going on, like I mentioned earlier with the COVID-19, we are seeing an active, aggressive type of delivery when it comes to the news and getting information out to the masses of what is to come day to day, week to week, maybe even month to month, relative to this virus and this outbreak. And that just ties again to how important communication is, because now more than ever, people are reliant on, the news channels, social media, and everything to bring them the content of information, which is tied to communication, and how much that's going to make for us having a peace of mind or a plan or, a perspective. It's necessary. It's needed. So communication is one of the things that as a person, as a developing person, as an adult, you're not going to be able to shy away from. Now, my encouragement is that you do your best to try to be as effective in your communication as possible. It is important that you realize it's not just a one-way street, it's a two-way street. Some people would say that you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. So you're encouraged to listen a lot more than you're encouraged to talk. And we live in an opinion-based society. So a lot of people are talking. I'm one of those people, but I also have made it a practice to listen. So on that note, I definitely encourage you guys that are listening, my followers, my subscribers, to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, continue to give me feedback and things that are, relative to you, things that you want to talk about, things that you want to hear my perspective on. I want to hear you guys' perspective. I want, an interactive channel, an interactive subscription-based family, because like I said, I'm here for you guys. So that's my time today. Like some of my topics, if not most of them right now, this will probably be something I revisit in the coming weeks or months. But I didn't want to go another week without giving you guys an update, some content and things to think about. This is Daniel Rucker on Truth Table, signing out. Everyone stay safe, stay faithful, stay positive, and see you next week.